fuck is this glare? It's like watching a J.J. Abrams movie. What? Let me try to fix that. Much better. I don't know what the hell that was. It was like Jesus shining down on me. Today, hey guys, it's Alex. Today I want to talk about Coyote swaps. When I'm in the tuning queue, I see a lot of questions being asked about Coyote swaps, and companies out there that offer Coyote swap kits, Power by the Hour, Ford Racing, things like that. All they can offer is the kit, right? So Power by the Hour has a unique kit. Let's say, for instance, you want to get a 6R80 in a car, whether it's an F100, an F250. I've seen some Coyote swapped F250s, like a 1977 F250. So cool to see that, and the tuning was really easy. They used a 6R80 control pack from Power by the Hour, put it in, 2 revisions or maybe 3 revisions later because we had to tweak the cold air. That was done, and he's driving an automatic Coyote swapped 77 F250. Pretty badass, and it was well built. A lot of F100s are becoming really popular. The F100 is like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's becoming insanely popular. I can't wait for actual Coyote swaps to go into Lightnings, because a lot of people like Lightnings, and they should Coyote swap that truck in a heartbeat. But anyway, all these companies can offer you is the harness and the computer. Now, the nice thing about Power by the Hour is they have a base file in there already. So if you have about the same size cold air as stock, which I believe is like 3.5 inches. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me, but I think it's about 3.5 inch inner MAF diameter. You should be able to start it up, make sure your fans work, and it will drive on that tune. It is a base file that'll just go vroom, and make sure that the transmission is shifting good. Then if you opt for aftermarket calibration, you have that option. But what's happening out there? A lot of people are going to the junkyard, which is okay, but they're hoping that the junkyard has a legit perfect 6R80, legit perfect Coyote engine, and that the swap's going to go seamlessly. And that's not the case. Now, a lot of people that have the money, in my opinion, do it the right way. They have an old body, they spent the money, they made it look the way they want it to look, so then they buy a new engine, new 6R80, and a control pack, whether it be a Power by the Hour one or one from Ford Racing if they have a manual, so that they know mechanically the car should be good, and if there's anything wrong with the tune, it is something on the install, not the hardware present. But what we're starting to see is that a lot of places get stuff from the junkyard. A lot of people that just buy the kit and do the work themselves take shortcuts. They do things that probably wouldn't be done at a shop, and that's why I always urge people that if you can swing it, have a shop do the swap for you. I understand it's insanely expensive. I understand that you're not going to want to spend $4,000 on an install or $2,000 on an install when you know you're mechanically inclined and you can do it yourself. But shops have been doing it for a very long time, and they know what to look out for. They know how to route certain things. They know the bugs, they know the shortcuts, they know how to actually R&D. They've R&D this, they've seen it all, they've done it all, so they know if there's an issue, they know it's with the tune or the hardware. Now, 9 times out of 10, it's the hardware. You go to a junkyard, you get an F-150 Coyote engine, you get potentially an F-150 6R80 or a 6R80 from a Mustang, and you put it in and you're like, well, it's shifting like shit, so it must be the tune. No. If it shifts like shit on the base file, then it's not the tune. The base file is literally, I think, a stock transmission calibration. It accounts for the cold air, and I think the thermostat settings are for like a 170 thermostat so that your fans come on a little earlier. That's it. Now, remember, if the hardware isn't proper, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to blame your tuner. You're going to chase your tail. You're going to say, there's no way it could be the 6R80. I got it from a legit junkyard. You still got it from a junkyard. But if you have new parts in there, then you can start looking at other things. Also, what's happening on Coyote swaps is the installation of the cold air. The cold air, the MAF sensor that goes in the cold air, listen to me carefully, okay? It is the most important thing in terms of placement, diameter, and what kind of airflow it's going to see. It's the most important thing you can do, okay? Placement. Let's talk about placement. don't make a ram air hood. I understand you can fabricate. I understand you can, or not ram air hood, a ram air cold air. Do not do a ram air cold air in any Coyote swap. Every single time I've seen a ram air, a functional ram air cold air intake, the car drives like garbage. Why is that? Well, the math is really sensitive to turbulence, okay? So if you have, let's say for instance, you put the cold air right in front of your fan and your fan's going at 100%, and it's literally, the fan is literally hitting the filter of the cold air at some kind of, funky angle, it's gonna be a problem. It's going to be a problem. That's why Ford shields their cold air. Just open a hood of any stock Mustang and look at it and go, oh, it is completely covered up. It is not visible. And if it is open, like GT500s or Shelby GT350s, if they have an open air filter element, go look at a GT350. Look at how well sealed that box is and how deep in the box the cold air is placed. It is deep in there. It doesn't see any direct airflow from anything, and it is sealed. So because when the hood shuts, it creates a nice seal around that open element air filter. Same thing with GT500s. Now the aftermarket gets a little lazy and starts making you put, diffusers in it, to actually straighten out the airflow. Plain and simply, if the air filter has a similar design to stock and it comes in and curves nicely, you shouldn't need anything to see, to cut down on turbulence. So a lot of people just band-aid stuff together and it becomes a problem. So on Coyote swaps, in my opinion, you should somehow seal or encase the cold air. Why? Because especially for an auto, it's going to affect drivability, fueling. It's going to affect everything. Now, if you can swing it, get a cold air that isn't made out of metal. A lot of people are going, well, why not? Only because you guys complain about inlet air temperatures. I've had cold airs that are made out of metal. Steeda has a metal one, PMOS has a metal one, but they also now have a non-metal one, for lack of a better word. PMOS does. And yeah, IAT is going to be higher because guess what? Open element filter in a closed hood in a non-sealed box, you're going to have higher IAT. But when you start moving, IATs go low, not an issue. But if you have a Coyote swap and you have a ton of room, you have a Crown Vic, you have an F100, you have all these things, and you fabricate and you fancy yourself a badass fabricator, fabricate an air box so that it picks up air from the bottom, makes its way up to that air box, and it collects good fresh air. Not a cut in the hood and as you're rolling, the air hits the filter directly. No, you want indirect airflow. So let's say, for instance, you can make a scoop at the bottom, just like Ford does, and it's sealed. Let's say it's sealed, and you have the air filter in here, and you have it come from the bottom up. You route it so that it's collecting fresh air from the bottom and not making a whole bunch of turbulence in that box. You're going to have a good time. Trust me, the car's going to drive well. You're going to love it. You're going to have low IATs. You're not going to have fan wash. You're not going to have surging. You're not going to have drivability issues. I've seen a lot of guys that have like an F100, have all the room on the planet, but then stick the cold air right in the engine bay, which is the most important thing. Don't get lazy with the cold air, okay? So basically, to surmise this video, the hardware is usually the problem when you buy a known, well-vetted tune with a control pack. If you bought the transmission from a junkyard and the engine from a junkyard, those are probably your culprits. The other thing is your cold air. Seal it if possible. Make it out of some non-metal material so that you don't complain about IATs, and keep it away from direct airflow so that drivability is basically consistent and you don't have any issues with bucking. And then tuners like us see everything legit. A couple tunes later, you're done. Makes your life easier. You can go drive your Coyote swap car. Thanks for listening, guys. I'll talk to you later.